move to the second round of the NBA playoffs on a spectacular evening in Phoenix, Arizona. The U.S. Airways Center is filled to capacity as the 7th-seeded San Antonio Spurs take on the 3rd-seeded Phoenix Suns, with the backdrop of a lot of memorable games between these two teams. With Hall of Famer Doug Collins and our sideline reporter Marty Snyder, this is Kevin Harlan checking out now our Taco Bell starting lineups. Veterans fill the lineups, but Doug, you've got your eyes set on the 37-year-old defensive-minded Grant Hill of the Phoenix Suns.
Well, Kevin, he's going to be so important in this series like he was in the Portland series. Game 1 in that Portland series, Andre Miller, 31 points. Portland comes in and steals the home court. Grant Hill proceeds to guard him the last 5 games, hold him to 13 points a game, turn that series. He will start out tonight on Manu Ginobili, and then he will guard later on Tony Parker. So he was going to have his hands full. And Kevin, you've heard me all the time when I talk about the San Antonio Spurs. There's Tony Parker. He's going to come off the bench now in the role, giving that firepower that Ginobili used to do. Tim Duncan in the post. But the guy who makes this team special, the Spurs, is Manu Ginobili. That's who the Suns have to do a job on.
The San Antonio Spurs got here by taking care of Dallas 4 games to 2. Phoenix Suns beat the Portland Trail Blazers in round 1. And here we go with our officials, Bennett Salvatore, Kenny Maurer, and Michael Smith. And Steve Nash begins it against Hill. And Amari Stoudemire works inside on McDyess. McDyess did a very good job on Nowitzki in round 1.
Yeah, totally different matchup here with Amari Stoudemire's speed and his power going to the basket with Dirk. He played so much on the perimeter.
Nice with the miss. Stoudemire with the defense. Rebound was brought down by Grant Hill. And this is over Ginobili. Hill puts the Suns on top 2-0.
Kevin, I thought the other night in Game 6, Grant Hill only had 1 basket in that game, and I thought he was the most important player on the floor. 12 rebounds, 3 blocks, the defensive job that he did the entire game. That's what they're going to need from him in this series.
McDyess with a late close by Stoudemire, and a rebound by Steve Nash, playing with the bad right hip. A hip impingement works on Hill with the left hand. He puts it up and in.
Well, good sign there by the Phoenix Suns. It looks like Nash was moving pretty well in that play. They're going to keep the pace of this game up. The Spurs want to push the ball, but they don't want to shoot quick jump shots.
Here's Hill, a screen by McDyess, and inside. How does San Antonio, Doug, want to play this game?
Well, they want to push the ball, but not look for quick jump shots. I mean, they want to push it. They want to run for layups. They want to run for quick post-ups, but they don't want to get into a quick jump shooting competition with the Phoenix Suns.
And it's Hill once again. On George Hill, Grant was spinning, McDyess was reaching in. George Hill, who emerged in that first round, picks up his first personal foul for the Spurs.
Steve Nash does such a wonderful job of that little hesitation dribble, and he sort of straightens you up a little bit on the defensive end, and then a little quick burst. Steve Nash is a lot quicker than he looks, Kevin. He's so efficient on the floor as we see Grant Hill knock down his first free throw. So
we see that poor Steve Nash, who is playing in playoff game number 109 in his career, has played so many, and he has not played an NBA Finals. And that is something he would like to change this year. He's played in a lot of good teams with this Suns ball club. But Doug, it always seems like San Antonio gets in the way.
Yeah, he is 0-6, and you saw that graphic against the Spurs. 4 here with the Suns, 2 with the Dallas Mavericks.
And here is Nash, who struggled in game 6 because of the hip, and Stoudemire left uncovered. And the rebound pulled down by Jefferson.
That's what they'd like to see more out of Richard Jefferson. More rebounding early in the year. He did not do a good job rebounding his position. This is going to be a carrying the ball on Richard Jefferson. Just a careless play. Absolutely nobody guarding him at all. Just a lapse in concentration.
Collins, a screen on Hill, opens the door for Nash. And so Doug Nash has gone to the rack 2 times.
Well, if you want to know what the defensive key is going to be in this series, it's who's going to be able to defend screen roll best, because both of these teams are going to run it about 70 times a game. Ginobili's getting ready to run it here with Duncan.
There's a switch on defense, pick and roll. Ginobili and Duncan, McDyess cleaning it up. And McDyess, who staggered during the season, gets the rebound and gives it off to Duncan. And Duncan kind of closed that Dallas series in a very quiet way, but he's heard from right there. Duncan watching Nash, and Steve goes again inside. He's got 3 layups in a row.
I think Steve Nash is feeling better after that hip impingement that bothered him in games 3 through 6 against the Blazers. He's had about 3 days rest. They really haven't done anything with him. He just rested, got off his feet, and he's off to a great start here tonight.
Now he's watching George Hill on the near side, approaching 9 minutes to play here in the first quarter. Ginobili. McDyess deflected by the active Nash and out of bounds in the shot clock at 8 point. Up. It was a turnover and a foul. And the foul goes on McDyess for the first time.
Now, Steve Nash, you see the reverse. Watch how he uses his body here. He uses the rim to shield himself so that Duncan cannot block that shot. Just a crafty player around the basket. Steve Nash uses both the right and left hands beautifully. Uses that backboard, the English, the kiss off the glass. A master of all those little floating shots.
Here comes Stoudemire, goes outside to Nash, working on Hill, slides by Jefferson with ease. He's going inside. Usually it's the San Antonio guards that drive inside the lane, and Popovich has got to find some way to stop Nash from getting inside.
Yeah, he cannot like the start of this game. Steve Nash is having his way with George Hill, so let's see what happens when Popovich comes out of this timeout. 11 quick points by the Phoenix Suns. Steve Nash up to a great stop, 4 of 4. He has 8 of the 11 points.
And the Suns have started 5 of 7 with a 7-point lead early in the game.
We're so up, so we had to calm ourselves down, get back into our game. Our game. We're gonna give the ball to Detroit.
Anytime that I'm playing up to my potential, our team plays better.
Our game.
Together. Together.
We're gonna fight to make this circle tighter.
Get back into our game.
We believe in each other. We believe as a team.
It takes teamwork to hoist that trophy.
Get back into our game.
The 2010 NBA playoffs on TNT, brought to you by T-Mobile. Connect as much as you want with affordable family plans from T-Mobile. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15%. Call Geico at 1-800-947-AUTO. By DirecTV, to get the most out of your high-def TV, you got to hook it up to DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. And by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
As we're back in Phoenix, time now for the Cold Hard Facts presented, Doug, by Coors Light.
Well, Kevin, tonight, what's at stake? The first game, the Sun psyche. Why do I say that? Because this is their nemesis. They have come in here twice when the Suns have had the home court advantage. One game won, the Suns have never recovered. So a lot of angst here in Phoenix in this game one. And for the Spurs, they've had 4 days rest. They should be sharp. The pace of the game, try to keep Phoenix to as many under 30 quarters as you have. And their wins, they had 6. In their losses, they did not have one 30-point fourth quarter. That screen roll defense that I talked about. And then the 2 X factors are going to be Jason Richardson, who had a brilliant series against Portland, and George Hill, who got off to a slow start here defensively, who was terrific against Dallas.
Neither team has made a change out of that break. Approaching 8 to play here in the first quarter with the Phoenix Suns going 5 of 7. Here is Hill on Hill. Grant working on George. They're getting close in shots, the Phoenix Suns.
We saw they changed the matchup there. They put Ginobili over on Steve Nash to try to calm him down. He got off to such a great start.
Now Grant Hill watching Jefferson. Stoudemire's on McDyess. Jaren Collins is wrestling with Duncan. And Jaren Collins picks up the personal foul. Longtime starter with the Utah Jazz. Collins picks up his first for Phoenix.
And what Jaren Collins is trying to do, obviously front when he can, try to change his position. Do not let them throw the ball in the post easily to Duncan. If Collins gets a few fouls, it's no big deal. They'll come in with Channing Frye. And in fact, McGowan might come in with them early, but to try to change the matchup, maybe try to get Duncan to have to guard Stoudemire.
Spurs 2 of 7. Here's Richardson, who was the star in the first series for the Suns against the Blazers.
How about this? He had 3 28-point or more games in the regular season, 79 games. He had 3 in the first playoff series.
Huh?
That's how hot he's been.
And a lot of threes, Doug. A ton of threes.
Yeah, he had, what in that series, Kevin? He had 22 threes, and the Spurs had 25 as a team in their first-round series against Dallas.
How about that? Shot clock is at 6, and here is Ginobili, and this is over Grant Hill. On the rebound by Amari Stoudemire, coming off a nice finish with that first round. Nash has the last 6 points for the Phoenix Suns, and you see Richardson drawing a double. Grant Hill with Ginobili there. Collins. And the shot clock is down to 6. Ginobili right there, that's the first for the Phoenix Suns, and Jefferson the other way. George Hill emerging in the first round with a drive and a foul called. Ooh, and he got it low. And the wind knocked out him right there, and a shot to the face, as you can see. And the foul's going to go on Richardson, Doug, for the first time for the Phoenix Suns.
Well, I tell you how important George Hill was for the San Antonio Spurs in that first round. Kevin, you and I did game 4. The game where the Spurs went up 3-1 in that series. They were down 15 early in that game. George Hill had 29 points in that game. He had a couple huge threes, but the Spurs win that game with Duncan Ginobili Parker going 9 for 34. Unheard of, but he and McDyess and Richard Jefferson had 53 combined in that game, so they really came to the front in a game at home. Dallas wins that game. They get the home court back. That series could have changed dramatically.
Collins is out. Fry is in, and Doug, we were told Fry was going to be an early entrant in this contest tonight.
Yeah, I just spoke about that a while ago in terms of now what they're hoping is that maybe Duncan now has to guard Stoudemire because they don't think Duncan will come out on the perimeter and play Channing Frye because he's going to be out behind that three-point line. So let's keep our eye, Kevin, on the matchup. Let's see who Duncan will guard now with Channing Frye in the game.
And Tony Parker has come in the game. Nash for three. Steve Nash has been incredible on the start tonight. 11 points, 5 of 5 from the field.
It's just what the doctor ordered for the Phoenix Suns. It's a great start and a huge game here tonight, and they are moving the ball beautifully. Nash has been terrific.
And McDyess close in around Stoudemire. With under 7 to play here in the first quarter. The lead of the Suns has climbed as high as 9. Nash again, he's got the green light. Stoudemire around Jefferson. Corkscrews on McDyess.
How about in the playoffs in the first round against Portland, the Suns averaged over 17 points a game on second shots. That's the most for any team in the NBA playoffs. That's a pretty amazing stat for the Suns, who really weren't a good rebounding team.
On the drive inside by Tim Duncan. Stoudemire's right there. We have a loose ball foul. That's going to go on Tim Duncan of the San Antonio Spurs. And Duncan will pick up his first. So Hill will leave. Ginobili is back in. Doug, a lot of times we're going to see Hill and Parker and Ginobili on the floor at the same time.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because they want Nash to have to defend. So if they have those 3 guards on the lineup, he'll probably play George Hill, who really plays without the ball a little bit more than Parker and Ginobili. There'll be a turnover there on Steve Nash, who had some turnover problems, Kevin, after that hip started bothering him. A little push here along the way. A little shove there as he goes down.
A little playoff tap.
A little glove tap. And that's game 1. Let's see what happens if it gets to game 7.
30% shooting for the San Antonio Spurs. On a Ginobili coming off a 26-point game 6 against Dallas, and Duncan on the fly. Count it for 2. Oh, no. He was going inside with an offensive foul. No, it's on Stoudemire. It's on Stoudemire, who thought maybe they were going to put it on Duncan.
See, Amari Stoudemire is slow in the rotation here. He's got to rotate up there quicker. Then he rotates over, and Tim Duncan does a nice job of sort of jumping sideways. And Tim Duncan in those first 3 games against Dallas was brilliant. He had 3 games where he had over 25 in all 3 of those games in the playoffs. The last time he had done that, ironically, was against the Phoenix Suns a few years earlier, but then he sort of limped in the last 3. I thought he got tired, and one game we had in game 4, he was only 1 of 9 and then played very few minutes in game 5. Did have a good game 6 when they were able to put the Dallas Mavericks away.
Nash is 5 of 6 and meets Tony Parker with a little screen there by Stoudemire. That ball was kicked. What else did you take away from that Dallas-San Antonio series, Doug? A lot of things were kind of evident in that contest, and we talked about Hill. Anything else stand out about the way Popovich maneuvered his team?
Well, it was interesting because Dirk Nowitzki and Caron Butler were both above their season averages. All the other key guys were 19 points below their average. Here's Channing Frye, and he loves to shoot the 3 here at home. He's such a different shooter, and Greg Popovich told us before the game, all those screen rolls with Channing Frye, they were going to be switching. I think that was a matchup because he rolled out and had an easy jump shot in rhythm.
In the first series, you're right, Doug. 46% from the floor. On the road, he was 25%, so a big difference. Home and road performance. Ginobili got a little screen from Duncan and pops in a deuce.
He is so difficult because he's one of those guys that just keeps you off balance. He can stop and start a herky-jerky kind of player, and here's Grant Hill in the lane coming off that screen. So if you're the Spurs right now, you've weathered a little bit of a storm. The Spurs, the Suns have gotten off to a great start, and you're only down 7.
7 minutes gone here in the first quarter. Ginobili sneaks one inside to the twirling Tim Duncan. Goes in on Stoudemire. It's picked up by Grant Hill. 1 on 3. It's an offensive foul. Ginobili took it. Hill picks up his first personal.
I think Grant would like to have that one back. He thought there was a little space there. Actually, it was about a 1-on-2 break here, and Ginobili sits there, and Grant Hill just cannot split the gap, and he gets caught for that offensive foul.
The dice is gone, and Matt Bonner will check in for the San Antonio Spurs. Parker and Jefferson, Duncan, Bonner, and Ginobili. The San Antonio 5. A Bonner screen. They quickly double Manu. Outside Jefferson by Stoudemire. Hit by Fry, and a foul goes on the Phoenix Suns. There's 4.5 to play here in the first quarter. Fry will pick up the foul. Here's a look at the upcoming national TV schedule. TNT Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Atlanta, Orlando, Utah Lakers. ESPN Thursday, Atlanta, Orlando, Game 2, and ABC on Saturday gives you the Lakers and Utah Game 3. Jefferson was slow to blend in with this San Antonio team. Looked a little bit more comfortable, Doug, in the postseason round 1 against Dallas.
Well, he had a big game in Game 2. When they broke through and stole the home court from Dallas. He had 19 in that game, 17 in the first half. He really calmed down over the last 3 or 4 games of that series, but I think he's picking and choosing when to shoot the 3 and when to drive the ball. Like in that possession there, early in the year, I think he would have shot the 3. That time he drove it and got fouled. You know, Bruce Bowen, you knew he was going to shoot that 3. It looks like that was off Jason Richardson's leg. I think there's a break here for the Phoenix Suns. But, you know, I think he's picking and choosing, you know, when to shoot that 3 and when to drive the ball to the basket now.
You just saw Grant Hill working his way to the locker room. We'll put Marty Snyder on that story. Dudley is in for the first time for the Suns. Nash and Parker. Screen by Fry. Ginobili comes out on Richardson. Knocked away. That's a turnover for Phoenix, who initially led by 9. Now the lead down to 6, and turnover number 4 for Dalvin Gentry's ball club.
You know, Steve Nash talks about Jason Richardson. He said when he gets it going, we're a very special team tonight. I think the Spurs realize that. Jason Richardson does not have a shot at the basket here early.
Duncan double. That goes on Dudley. He's out there with Fry, Stoudemire, Richardson, and Steve Nash. That is the first on Jared Dudley.
I thought this ball went off Jason Richardson's leg right there. It went off his right leg. They did not get the call, but then the next play they did get the call. So this one the ball goes out of bounds, and they said Jason Richardson hit it. So missed the first one. I think they got the second right.
Like the comments of Tim Duncan, Doug, he said defensively in that first round against the Dallas Mavericks, our team kind of developed a defensive personality. We've been looking for that all regular season.
I think a lot of that is they got acclimated with Richard Jefferson being part of the defense and also Antonio McDyess. It's a very intricate defense the Spurs play. Everybody has to be in sync. When one man moves, another guy's got to cover his back, and I don't think early in the year they did that. Now they're doing a much better job of that. I think the numbers support it. But in this series, Kevin, it's going to be, as Popovich says, not transition defense, but super transition defense.
Career low numbers for Tim Duncan. During the regular season, his numbers were down because of a career low 31 minutes a game. But I think that's going to pay off here with a fresh body in the playoffs.
No question, his minutes are up to over 37 in the playoffs.
Dudley. Jefferson did the fake, and Bonner is there to clean up for San Antonio. Rebounding in the game, we've got a 2-rebound advantage for Phoenix so far.
Well, Richard Jefferson chased him off that 3. Bonner, forced Jared Dudley to pull up and shoot a 2-pointer. Not going to let him shoot those spot-up 3s.
Switch on defense. Jefferson is on Nash. Stoudemire trying to set his screen. Little pick and roll here, and Bonner will watch Mario across the lane.
That's a mismatch there. They're going to have to give Bonner help down there. Mario will have a field day if they let him isolate and go against Bonner.
Tony Parker, Duncan a screen. We'll see more pick and rolls in this series, and you might see an whole season's worth of game with some teams as Parker's a little bit short.
Now, Tony shot a curveball on that play. Let's see if Richardson can get out and run. A beautiful pass by Nash. That's what happens when you take a shot. You better get back against the Phoenix Suns. They're going to run on makes, they're going to run on misses, and they're going to run for 48 minutes.
Richardson's got 2. It's Fry watching Tim Duncan. Rebound by Richardson, who comes the other way for the Phoenix Suns. Into Jefferson. Jason Richardson.
Sometimes all you need to do is get a layup. That's what happened with Jason Richardson. He loves to leak out on the break. Leads a Phoenix Suns 6-0 run. He gets a layup, knocks down a jump shot, and Greg Popovich wants to talk it over.
Back in Phoenix, the Suns on an 8-0 run, up 25-14. Now, these Suns fans love to hate the Spurs, and Alvin Gentry told me I don't blame them. 4 of their last 5 playoff runs were ended by the Spurs, and they have these shirts here that say, "It's our turn. Beat the Spurs." Tony Parker told me, "I love this atmosphere. I love when people pull against me. Makes me want to play that much harder." I don't think Tony Parker would want to be standing where I'm standing, Kevin, but I think he loves this atmosphere with guys pulling against him.
Well, Kevin, the two numbers are that 05 and 07. That's really what sticks out with the Phoenix Suns. That's why the fans are nervous, because both of those years, the Phoenix Suns had the home court advantage. The Spurs came in and won game 1 and went on and won those series. That's why I think tonight is so important for these Phoenix Suns, is to get this and go up 1-0. As I said before, the Spurs have had 4 days rest. They're going to have to come back on a lot shorter rest to play game 2.
George Hill has just come in for Ginobili. Nash defending Hill after watching Duncan down low. And that stops a drought of about 3 minutes from the floor for the San Antonio Spurs, who have trailed by as many as 11. They've not led tonight in this 9-point game. Phoenix at 65%. Richardson puts it over Jefferson with the offensive rebound. Pulled down by Stoudemire. That is the second offensive rebound for the Phoenix Suns and the 5th overall for Amari. It's Nash double. Look at the defense by George Hill.
Nice job that time getting their hands up. You saw Duncan just sort of followed Nash all the way to the basket, and then George Hill really closed nicely to get a double team.
Go flat, go flat, go flat.
Ari's watching Duncan. Nash is bumped into by Hill on the fly. Playoffs make reputations. Playoffs usually have a player that is showcased. This George Hill, as we take a look at seconds ago in Nash, with Nash picking up his first personal fouls. Nice double defense there.
Well, you saw what Duncan did. He just sort of, went side by side there with Nash, take away that jump shot until George Hill could square him up. And then Duncan then tried to get back to his own man, and Nash made a mistake. You don't see him do it a lot, but he got the ball up over his head to try to pass in traffic. And just the guy smothered him there and forced a turnover.
Blair comes in for Duncan. Barbosa comes in for Phoenix for Jason Richardson. But finishing up my point on Hill, he was the breakout player. These are where reputations are made. This kid made a nice name for himself in that first round.
Well, you think about all the injuries that the Spurs had last year, Kevin, and sometimes you find a player. And I thought last year when they signed Roger Mason Jr., he did a nice job with the injuries to Parker Ginobili, as did George Hill. They got time maybe they would not have gotten otherwise. And so now the Spurs are a deeper team with Parker back and Ginobili back. They could put Roger Mason in the game, who played well. His minutes were way down, and I thought he had a very good year last year for the Spurs.
Amundsen comes in for Stoudemire. That's the other change. Doug told you about the switch, and here's a move inside by Steve Nash, who scoops it home and comes up with his 13th point in the first quarter.
Watch how he splits that pick and roll, Kevin. He is a master. I mean, this guy, watch him little left crossover, then watch him split it, take it between his legs. I mean, you've got to close down that area and not give him any room to split that pick and roll, Kevin. I think that's the toughest thing now. When you see these guards, if you give them any kind of daylight, they will split that pick and roll and get to the basket. I mean, Dwayne Wade is brilliant at it. You see LeBron James, some of these guards are so good at just being able to get to the basket with just a little daylight.
Juwan Blair just picked up his first personal. The driving Tony Parker in the lane. Blair tries to get it. Nash comes out of the pack. Nash for 2. Rebound by Blair. It's picked up, and here comes Parker the other way. Parker's pretty good in this transition game from a San Antonio standpoint, flying in the paint, guards in the lane for the Spurs.
And look what he did. He split the pick and roll, just exactly what Nash had done. I just spoken about how these guards can do that in the NBA. Spurs, the Suns looking at a 30-point quarter here if they can get a score.
Nash around Bonner. Off of Bonner's foot. Vacuumed in by Blair. No fouls to give either way. Here comes Hill. Difference of about 8 seconds. Game clock and shot clock winding down our first quarter here from Phoenix, Arizona. Tony Parker, 1 of 3, 7 minutes. Defended by Dudley. Oh, what a move by Tony Parker. Against a good defender, too, Dudley.
There's too much speed and quickness for Dudley.
Nash now, seconds remain in the first quarter. Parker was there, counted for 2 and a foul. George Hill. Now they're going to discuss and see if indeed, yep, they're going to count it.
And remember what I talked about, Kevin. One of the things when you play the Phoenix Suns, you want to try to keep them under 30 points in a quarter. That means they've got the pace of the game up. In the 4 wins against Portland, they had 6 30-point quarters. In the 2 losses, they had none. So the first quarter was played at the pace of the Phoenix Suns.
Hill picks up his second. What about the opposing teams, Doug, wanting to make Nash a score, which is what he has been now with 17 points here in the first.
Well, in the Portland series, they did not do nearly as well. Tonight, they're off to a great start. Let's see how it plays itself out.
Hill at the buzzer. As the Phoenix Suns shoot 59%. They get 17 out of Nash. And Doug, there's your 30-point quarter for the Phoenix Suns. They get 31. We'll keep track of that. When they score that much, they usually go on to a win. They're at home and hosting the 7th-seeded.
Marty sided with Greg Popovich. And, Coach, do you change anything to slow down Steve Nash a little bit there?
Well, we got to guard him better, that's for sure. He's really had a great start.
They were able to score 30 in that quarter. Do you need to slow the pace a little bit for your liking?
No, I don't think the pace had anything to do with it. Our bad play had a lot to do with it.
All right, Pop.
And the Phoenix Suns shot, Doug, 59% in that first quarter. Second unit is in for the Phoenix Suns. Here comes Ginobili out there with Parker, starting things off in the backcourt for the San Antonio Spurs.
You're going to see a couple matchups. That's what Dudley on Ginobili. Is he quick enough to keep him in front of him? We got Dragic now playing Tony Parker.
Ginobili, Blair, Parker splitting the defense. Foul was there. Blair gets a shot clock violation. Doug, there is a distinct difference between the starters for the Phoenix Suns and what the second unit brings.
They bring a lot of energy. They're very defensive-minded, and they're a very good three-point shooting group. You have Barbosa, you have Dudley out there, Channing Frye, Dragic, all very good shooters, and then you have Amundsen on the board. So this is a very high-energy, defensive-minded group, and you really got to get to that three-point line.
Barbosa with the drive on play. Snaps it outside to Dragic, working on Tony Parker.
Boy, he has played well, Dragic. He got off to a slow start early in the playoffs, and Alvin Gentry stuck with him. And in games 5 and 6, he was terrific.
Alvin had to kind of build his confidence after a rugged first year for Dragic.
Well, that's sometimes what happens. I think a lot of that, too. You had him coming over to the United States. You had the culture change, obviously, a lot of different changes he had to play through, vocabulary, all these things. And Dragic has really been a real key for this team off the bench this year. He's kept Steve Nash's minutes down to about 31 a game, and Alvin Gentry feels very comfortable having him on the floor with Steve Nash. And once again, you've got Tony Parker, who is so good. The hesitation, see, he uses that shoulder, creates the contact, a little kiss off the glass. And Kevin, you talked about it a while ago, when you play the San Antonio Spurs, you better keep those guards out of the paint, just like the San Antonio Spurs must keep Steve Nash out of the paint. If they get in there, bad things happen for your defense.
That might surprise some people that Parker now comes off the bench. He does not start.
Well, I think since his hand injury, Pop likes having the guy come off the bench and score. Remember, he used to do that with Ginobili. When you don't have a bench, sometimes you've got to create one. And that's what he did a few years ago with Ginobili. With Parker with his injury, that's what he's done. Parker likes, as long as he's playing the fourth quarter, Parker does not mind. And you can see that it's 23-6 in the one series, 15-3, then 23-6. That's how important they have been getting into the paint points-wise against this Suns team.
Barbosa against Blair. That's a matchup that they'll take all day long in Phoenix.
Yeah, that speed of Leandro Barbosa. He loves going to the left.
Parker just picked up his first. Dragic before picked up his first, and Dudley just picked up his second moments ago. Little house cleaning there. Here is Bonner. Working by Frye into Amundsen off the bench, Matt Bonner.
That's okay, though. You want to run him off that three-point line. Don't let him get his feet set, knock down those threes. He's out there to shoot the ball.
Barbosa, who missed a lot of games this year, had wrist surgery. 44 games. Had a cyst removed. Now he's back. He's a luxury for this Phoenix team. There's a great deal of speed.
Yes, he does.
Dragic against Bonner. Trying to force it inside. Roger Mason Jr. Picks it up, and here comes Ginobili. Turnover number 6 for the Phoenix Suns. Barbosa knocked it away, reaching around and picks up the foul for the Phoenix Suns.
Now we'll have to keep our eye, Kevin. If this Suns bench starts to struggle a little bit, Alvin said, you know what, I didn't trust them enough early in that Portland series. I got to stay with them. In Game 5, he did in that Portland series. They had 55 points, actually 55 to 23 against Portland. Let's see if the Suns, if they struggle to score a little bit, if Alvin will stay with his bench. But that's been a real key for him, is to have the patience with that unit.
Because, Doug, he's given these kids time in the regular season. It surprised a lot of people when he kind of changed his ways early in that series, like you said.
But that's what happens. Coaches go more to their starters.
Right.
You see it with the Spurs. You see all those 3 stars are all playing a lot more minutes now than they did in the regular season.
Blair into Amundsen. Juan Blair made second-team All-Rookie. One of 3 second-round picks that made that second team. He's out of Pitt. He's the 37th overall pick, and there's a connection to Phoenix there, too. Phoenix got Dragic in a trade, and down the road a second went to San Antonio, and that second-round pick happened to be Blair. Look at the twisting moves by Jared Dudley, splitting the double team inside by San Antonio. Well, he means a lot to this team, doesn't he, Jared Dudley?
Yeah, he's such a personality too. He brings so much in that locker room. Guys so trust him. They have so much fun in this team. And Parker shoots a little floater going left, and here comes Dragic on the fast break once again, trying to give it that open court.
Parker 3 of 7. Dragic the other way into Ginobili. Out of the other way. That defense, transition defense for the Suns. Ginobili slides in for 2 right there.
You asked me a while ago about what do the Spurs want to do. They want to do that. If they can drive it back at the Suns, they want to challenge their transition defense. But Kevin, not with jump shots. Plays like that with Ginobili, or get to the foul line or a post-up, not quick jump shots.
6-point game. Suns led earlier by 11. There's a turnover right there by Dragic. And that's turnover number 7 for the Phoenix Suns.
Now, sometimes teams that run don't like to be run against. And so here Ginobili just drives it right down, gets to that left hand, uses the glass. The Spurs hanging around, down only 6.
Time now for a look at the Burger King double-double. Darren Williams along with Carlo Boozer for the Utah Jazz right up there, and Pau Gasol from the Los Angeles Lakers. Utah came close on the Lakers in Game 1.
They really did. They were down big early in that game, I think by 15. They battled back, actually were winning by 4, 93 to 89 in that 4th quarter. And guess what? Kobe Bryant time, I think he had 13 points in the last 4 or 5 minutes of that game, and once again rescued his team, and they lead 1-0 in that series.
Amari Stoudemire's come in for Channing Frye. That was the move by Phoenix, and Hill has come in for Parker. George Hill with it right now. There's a screen by Bonner. Pick and pop over Stoudemire. Bonner missing the triple. Here comes Barbosa. San Antonio, Doug, has not hit a 3 in this game yet.
Well, Amari's got a matchup now with Bonner. They should go to this and take advantage of this. There's no way that Bonner can guard him. Let's see if Amari looks to attack.
Dragic stepping behind the 3-point line, and a tandem came out to close out. By the way, we mentioned before that Grant Hill left the floor, went to the locker room. We found out that with our great undercover work, he was just going to the bathroom. He's only played 7 minutes in this game, by the way. He left with about 4.5 left in the 1st quarter. 4 minutes gone here in the 2nd. Hill. Dragic's defense is apparent. Bonner. Amundsen will pick him up. Ginobili sheds Dudley and works right into Stoudemire. Lou Amundsen brings a little energy off that Phoenix bench.
Yeah, Amari Stoudemire, nice job contesting that shot. Looked like Ginobili was going to have a clear path to the basket.
Amari Stoudemire over Blair. George Hill with the rebound. Ginobili. Dragic swerving inside and draws the foul. So hard to defend. Foul will go Marty Snyder on Amundsen for the first time. What do you have?
Manu Ginobili going to the line here, and you see him playing with a nose brace that is on his nose right now. They actually made it bigger under the last timeout. Manu said someone moved it during the game, so they put a bigger piece of white tape on there. It was a busy 3 quote-unquote days off for Manu. On Friday, after Game 6 with Dallas, went through and proceeded to straighten the nose because the doctors were worried that it was healing crooked. Then on Saturday, they put sensors on his face, made a 3D animation of a mask, and then made the mask. Manu tried it, shot with it, said, you know what, just too bulky for me, so he's going to stick with this apparatus for this entire series. Kevin?
Doug, as a player, did you ever have to wear a mask?
I didn't, but you know, the thing about that, I think the sweat, the perspiration and all would really be tough to play with. In fact, Antonio McDyess had a situation. He talked to Ginobili when he was in Detroit. He had it happen with him, and he could not wear the mask because it was such a distraction. Ginobili is one tough character, and he's going to go to the line here to shoot another free throw. But you know, since he had his nose injured, I think if you saw that last graphic, his shooting has been down. Now, he told Marty Schneider today that he didn't feel like that injury or that the thing he was wearing on his face was a problem, but he has not shot the ball well. The thing that saved him is he's been getting to the line a lot over the last 3 or 4 ball games.
Passes in for Dragic. Amundsen. Duncan defending. Duncan just came in for Blair. Grant Hill has come in for Dudley. Those are the changes. As we got another 6-point game and approaching 7 to play here in the second quarter. Game number 1. Second round. San Antonio and Phoenix. That says it all with a very colorful history between these two. Amundsen is battling with Duncan. This is McDyess over Amundsen. A 3 by Manu Ginobili. Hill defending. Amundsen cleans it up. Here comes Leandro Barbosa, the Brazilian player. Reaching in. Oh, look at Duncan trying to regain his footing. He was back on his heels, and Tim Duncan at 34 years of age falling out of bounds on the driving Barbosa, who came right into his lap.
Well, you just cannot backpedal with Leandro Barbosa. He is so fast. And what's going to happen anytime anything happens in this series, both these guys are just sort of falling backwards. And there's so much angst in history, Kevin. You've talked about it. Any little thing is going to draw the ire of fans. So that was just a play where they both got tangled up and lost their balance and fell down. There was absolutely nothing to that.
Mason leaves with his first foul. Here comes Jefferson back in the game, and here is Barbosa at the free throw line. And you take a look at Richard Jefferson. It's taken a while for McDyess and Jefferson. We talked about this earlier, to get on the same page. For this Phoenix team, Doug, as Grant Hill is back in with Nash, they have played with a lot of urgency, especially since Dan Marley had a little talk with Grant Hill mid-season about play with urgency every game, even in the regular season.
Yeah, got to have a little bit more sense of desperation. It actually happened right before that Dallas Maverick game where they turned their season around, finished the season beautifully. What people will give the Suns credit for, they're a much better defensive team this year than they have been in the past.
Look at the defense right there. Out of your words comes an honest defensive floor, and they call the jump ball with Amundsen and Antonio McDyess, who has really brought it up a notch in these playoffs for the Spurs.
You know, it's interesting, but in the year, the Suns' field goal percentage defense by their opponents was actually better than the San Antonio Spurs. Ginobili loses his footing. It's going to be a jump ball, but over the last 34 games of the season, the Phoenix Suns opponents shot 44%, which would put them in the top 5 in the league. They're a better rebounding team. They're a better defensive team. And they are a team that still scores 110 points because they're a great early offensive team, and they get a lot of threes in transition.
Richardson has come in for Barbosa. He pops one right there. That goes over Jefferson. Rebound by Hill. Nash over the dice. Parker just came in for Ginobili, who takes a breather on the bench. They've taken that splint off his nose, as you see it, with nothing taped over the broken nose. Hill is now on Parker.
What we talked about, he's going to have to guard Ginobili, he's going to have to guard Parker. This is going to be a total defensive series for Grant Hill.
Amundsen comes out. Pick and roll with Duncan. Nice rotation by Phoenix. Stoudemire is there to defend.
Lou Amundsen once again, that energy and hustle off the bench.
Nash double. Ball deflected. Amundsen. Nash had 17 in the first. He's got 2 in the second. Swerving. The mismatch on Duncan. A 3. Rebound by Tony Parker. He missed a lot of time late in the season with a broken bone in his hand. Now comes off the bench. Doug talked about that earlier. Here's Duncan in a sandwich with Grant Hill and Amundsen. That's a Phoenix foul. 5:21 to play here in the second. Amundsen, a very active player inside. Amundsen picks up his second personal foul. You like the pace, coach, of the game so far?
It is. It seems like...
Doug, the Phoenix Suns are plus 10 points in the paint. A lot of it has to do with Steve Nash.
Yeah, he has 10 of the points himself. He has a one long 3 that we saw on that play right there, but everything he's getting inside, he has 8 field goals, 5 of them in the paint. And he's done a nice job of changing direction, using that little pull-up jump shot. There is his first quarter shot chart. You see how many shots he took. He's 8 of 12 for the game, and in the second quarter, only 2 as the Suns lead 42-33. But Kevin, it's interesting. When I look at the San Antonio Spurs, one of the stats that jumps out to me is their three-point shooting. They're 0 for 4. The Spurs, a big part of their offense, especially when they had Bruce Bowen, the big part of that was their three-point shooting. They do not have a 3 tonight. I talked to Greg Popovich before the game. He said, we're not nearly as good as we used to be shooting the 3. And how about this? In game 3, when they beat the Dallas Mavericks, they did not make a 3, 0 of 7. They were minus 24 points from the three-point line in that game and still won the game.
Doug, you're keeping track of Tim Duncan's free throw shooting tonight, now 3 of 5.
Well, he shot 49% against the Dallas Mavericks, and that could be real critical, especially in the close game in the fourth period.
Channing Frye. Jason Richardson. He's got 4. Colliding into Jefferson.
Looks like he's limping a little bit. It looked like he was holding his right thigh. Maybe he and Jefferson collided in midair there, but Jason Richardson is just playing terrific basketball right now for the Phoenix Suns. He's playing with such confidence.
Spurs have missed their last 5 shots from the field. Frye is watching Duncan. The double by Richardson outside. A long 2 by Tony Parker. Rebound by Frye.
And that was the key, long 2. Not let him get to that three-point line. Parker really does not want to shoot threes.
Mismatch over Parker. It's Richardson. Rebound by Antonio McDyess. George Hill so far, Doug, with 7 points, and here's Tim Duncan. He's got 7.
Nice job on him, rotating, double teaming him, keeping him off balance here. Grant Hill once again.
Richardson by Parker.
Boy, if you could see Grant Hill on that play, that was sort of the epitome of what Grant Hill has brought to this team. The ball goes into Duncan. He rotates over, scrambling, then he knocks the ball loose, gets out on the break, and here's Jason Richardson. This is when he is the most lethal, either pulling up and shooting the 3 or getting all the way to the basket. Phoenix on a 9-1 run, and they lead by 12. The Suns lead by 12, and this is the disrupting defense that we've seen from the Phoenix Suns. Grant Hill's man clears through George Hill. They force Channing Frye does a nice job of spinning Duncan back. Look at Grant Hill there, forcing him to pick up his dribble, and now he's going to rotate out of there. Watch the rotation. He gets a hand up. He knocks the pass down. And once again, the fast break for the Phoenix Suns. It's Jason Richardson. So Grant Hill tonight, 1 point in the game. Ginobili is 2 of 6. Parker's 3 of 8. Those 2 guys are 5 for 14. And sometimes you can put your imprint on a series without being scoring. And you saw what he did to Andre Miller in that first series. That's what he's trying to do to Parker and Ginobili here to give his team a chance to win. Try to slow those 2 guys down.
Ginobili comes in for McDyess. We got small ball on the floor right now for San Antonio. We have a foul down low. Grant Hill was watching Ginobili. There's another thing you're talking about. You know, it was Hill's defense and Andre Miller, Doug, in that Portland series that changed that series for Phoenix. We talked about that earlier on. Ginobili picks up his first personal foul. Did a huge job, and here comes Nash. All over the floor. Leading him with 19. Here is Richardson. Ginobili defending on the play. Frye. Nash. Only 2 in the second quarter. And 17 in the first. 21 for Steve Nash.
I'll tell you what, he plays at such a great pace tonight, though. He's in a very good rhythm. His team is really responding. Here's Ginobili. It's the first 3 of the game for the San Antonio Spurs, and we always talk about closing quarters. I think a very important time for both of these teams. Can the Phoenix Suns finish strong, or the Spurs, can they cut into this 11-point lead, maybe get this down to 5 or 6 going in at halftime?
Stoudemire and Duncan. Amare Stoudemire, in his 17 minutes on the floor, has put in 6 with 6 rebounds.
Tim Duncan just cannot handle this kind of speed. Amare Stoudemire, when he catches that ball at the elbow, Kevin, that's where you see, to me, the slippage in Tim Duncan's game as he's gotten older is the lateral quickness. He can still rebound, he still block some shots on occasion, But Tim Duncan used to be so good at being able to move his feet in those kind of situations. And you can see Amari Stoudemire just squared him up, used his quickness, drove the ball right around him for the three-point play.
And on the offensive side, Doug, Duncan is playing a little bit out now, isn't he? Not trying to get involved in all the congestion inside.
A little bit more jump shots.
And Ginobili begins to drive inside, and Grant Hill is there to defend, and Grant Hill picks up his second personal foul. 2:49 to play here in the second as we take you to our TNT Arena. And here is Ernie Johnson.
All right, thank you, Kev. Coming up on the T-Mobile halftime report, a first-half breakdown from Kenny and Charles. We'll have highlights of tonight's Game 2 in the Boston-Cleveland series, now tied up at a game apiece, and a complete wrap-up on Inside the NBA after the Spurs and Suns. And remember, you can log on to NBA.com after every playoff game and get live streaming coverage of the post-game press conferences. Now, let's come back to the Valley of the Sun to Kevin and the coach.
Doug, you've been keeping, thank you, Ernie. You've been talking about the big three and what their shooting has been like tonight, how they are influencing this game, if at all, for San Antonio.
They are all three shooting a very low percentage. And George Hill's been a guy, he has 7 tonight, but for the most part, the three stars have been very cold, and you've got to give the Suns a lot of credit with their defense.
There's a San Antonio foul. Tony Parker was lunging inside. By the way, Ginobili's got 11. He's put 9 of those 11 through here in the second quarter. Tony Parker picks up number 2. Ginobili's got a new splint on that nose. They changed the gauze moments ago.
The Portland Trailblazers shot 43% against the Suns in the 6-game series. Tonight here in this first quarter, the Spurs are shooting 38%.
Richardson against Hill.
They're going to that matchup. Anytime they see Jason Richardson in that post, he goes right in there against George Hill. We've seen him post up Tony Parker. So Alvin Gentry finding the mismatches and taking advantage of that here in this first half.
10 now for Richardson. 6 have come here in the second. The quick double is sent toward Duncan. Out of bounds. The double worked out well right there. And now they overturn the call. They're going to say it is off of the Phoenix Suns with 2:08 to play and 8 seconds left on the shot clock here late in the second quarter.
Now that ball was deflected by Steve Nash. That's a good call. Kenny Maurer comes in and gives Bennett Salvatore some help. He was screened out on that call.
And a quick foul right out of that. Looks like Nash trying to defend. He'll pick it up. That is the second on Steve Nash, who has played 17 minutes in this first half with the bad right hip and all. And TNT in June, it's a new season and a new reason to get more leverage. The Leverage 2-hour season premiere event is Sunday, June 20th at 9/8 Central, and it's only on TNT. George Hill at the line. Late first-round pick out of IUPUI. He's always been a favorite of Popovich with what he can do defensively. But Doug, as you mentioned earlier, his offensive game has emerged here in his second NBA season.
His three-point shooting really helped save the Spurs against the Dallas Mavericks. In that game 6, he hit 2 critical threes late in that game. And then game 4, he hit a big one when he had 29. But that's what he worked on all summer. He talked to Bruce Bowen. Bruce Bowen said, you've got to start making those corner threes. That's where you're going to get the shots. And that's exactly what George Hill has done. And he's really improved in that three-point line.
And Stoudemire right into Tim Duncan and gets his own miss. Richardson, 5 of 9. And picked off by Ginobili. It's the 8th turnover for the Phoenix Suns. Spurs, by the way, have been capitalizing at the line, plus 9 points right there. Duncan to Parker. Parker against Fry. Back inside to Tim with a foul. Looks like maybe Stoudemire. Comes right across. Fry was there defending as well. Channing Fry, raised here in the Phoenix area, picks up his second personal foul. And once again, Tim Duncan at the line. And Doug, tonight, he's 3 of 5.
Kevin, you see the Spurs here when they've had Tim Duncan against the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns, for the longest time, were small ball. And in 05, it was Amari Stoudemire. And then it was Kurt Thomas, and they said, enough of this. We got to get a big guy. They went out and got Shaquille O'Neal. None of those guys were able to unseat the San Antonio Spurs. Now it's Darren Collins, and will we see Robin Lopez at all in this series? Robin Lopez, they feel like can really give him some good minutes, but they're not going to rush him back. He's had a bulging disc. He's been out since March 26th, and they are not going to rush him back on the floor.
He's inactive tonight. Front, rejected by Jefferson, picked up by Tim Duncan with his second rebound. Parker into Nash. In the lane, the guards of the Spurs.
He is so good on those floating shots.
07 Finals MVP Tony Parker. Nash looking to go inside. Hill is jousting with Richardson.
It's a tough matchup. There's no way in the world that George Hill's going to be able to guard Jason Richardson that low post. Remember when Jason Richardson was at Michigan State? He was a very good low post player. And then when he got into the NBA, he started floating more out and shooting a lot of three-point shots. But he is strong in that post, and he's taken advantage of his size in this first half.
So here's Jason Richardson at the free throw line. Hill has his third. He'll leave. Roger Mason Jr. will check in the contest. And here is Richardson Doug, who is really a barometer. We mentioned this before, but he's really a barometer for this Phoenix team. When he scores 20 or more, watch out, a lot of success for Phoenix.
Well, 29-4 on the year. How about this? They've won 10 straight games with him doing that. Kevin, he was averaging about 14.5 before the All-Star break. After the All-Star break, 17-8. And in the first round against the Portland Trailblazers, almost 24 points a game. He shot 53% from the field, 51% from three. And he had 3 brilliant games. That 42-point game he had in Portland in Game 3 to give them the home court advantage back after they had lost Game 1.
Turnover right there with Tony Parker wheeling down the lane. Turnover number 7 for the San Antonio Spurs. No fouls to give either way with under a minute to play. Here in the first half, you see the turnover story, the points off turnovers, which is basically the same. Richardson and Ginobili. That's a foul on Ginobili, who will pick up for him his second personal foul. I remember another number 20 that used to play like this. He used to play for Philadelphia, Doug Collins.
Yeah, the man who is, you got to love his hustle and his feisty, scrappy play. The Phoenix Suns fans don't like him, but I guarantee you they'd love to see him wear a Suns jersey. He's one of those kinds of players. And Jason Richardson going back to the line here in the Phoenix Suns in the first half. That's only their 10th free throw attempt. The San Antonio Spurs have shot 20, so a big part of the Spurs just hanging around is the fact they've gotten to the line 20 times here. 12 points off turnovers for the Phoenix Suns, 10 for the San Antonio Spurs.
Times, Doug, we see Greg Popovich. You touched on this briefly before. Zero in on a certain thing to shut down for a team, whether it's a player or a certain thing that opposing team may run. How do you think he's going to approach this series against the Suns?
Well, I asked him about that. The history has been to let Amari throw up a big night and try to shut down everybody else. He said, I don't think the way this Suns team is compromised, we can do that.
Parker! Wow, is he fast.
That's too easy, though. Alvin Gentry cannot like that. We've seen now Parker go end-to-end, Ginobili go end-to-end, and as well as Phoenix has played in this first half, which I think they've been very dominant, they're only up by 10.
Parker's got 7 coming in here in this second quarter. This is Stoudemire running to Duncan. Amari Stoudemire has gone 4 of 8. He's got 9 and 7 rebounds.
I think over the last part of his season since All-Star break, you can say Amari Stoudemire has played as one of the top 5 players in the NBA. He has been absolutely terrific.
There's a difference of 3 seconds. The game clock and the shot clock. To their feet. There's a screen by Duncan. Dragic is checked in for his defense. It's Jefferson into Dragic with a foul. Duncan is down.
Yeah, it looked like he got his leg rolled up into. He's got that left knee brace. And Dragic rolled up into that leg. Let's hope it's nothing serious as Tim Duncan is gingerly trying to get up here with Richard Jefferson.
Dragic picks up his second. Tim Duncan is wearing a very light brace, which he has worn all season long on that left knee, which has needed some support.
Oh, he
a little hyperextended. Yep, he sure did.
Wow.
He stays in the game, though, with Jefferson at the line.
Those are scary things like that when you have that happen to you, Kevin, and especially with that knee that he's had a problem with.
It's made of an ultra-light composite, that left knee brace is, as he continues to kind of shake out the cobwebs. And here is Jefferson, who began the Dallas series terrifically. He simmered down a little bit as the series wound down. But the point is, he has made his presence felt, as we mentioned before, on this Spurs team. Finally.
Well, you know, Mr. Holt, the owner of the San Antonio Spurs, really went on the limb. He felt like with Duncan Ginobili Parker, their window was about 2 years. So instead of waiting till this summer to do something, he went out and got Richard Jefferson, signed McDyess to go well into the luxury tax. And so the San Antonio Spurs know when you have these 3-star players, you better put guys around them that have a chance to win now. And Mr. Holt has done that.
There's Garrett Temple in the game for San Antonio. Nash, Stoudemire, Gilbert goes. That closes out the first half. Phoenix leads by 10, Doug. They shot 57%. They're right on course, exactly what they want to do. They hold the San Antonio Spurs to 42% from the field.
Yeah, very good first half by the Phoenix Suns. I thought Steve Nash really gave them a lot of confidence early. Kevin, he came out, had that great first quarter. The Suns put 30 on the board, and so they felt very good about their first quarter, but the Spurs are still lurking as Steve Nash is with our Marty Snyder.
As you mentioned, Coach, 21 points, 5 assists for Steve Nash. Are you concerned, though, Steve, after the terrific half you guys played, you're not up by more?
Well, we'd like to be up by more, but we'll take it. You know, we're playing well. I think the game's in a pretty good rhythm. We could have converted a couple more times and we could have stopped a couple more times, but that's life. We got to just, you know, continue to play at the pace and the confidence level that we need to at both ends of the floor in the second half.
Are you more proud of what you guys did offensively in the first half or defensively?
Well, you know, I'm proud of both, but I think we could have done better at both as well. You know, we could have tightened up a few times, probably put them on the line a little bit more than we would have liked to have, and I thought, you know, at times we didn't make them pay offensively when we really had advantages.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
After a quick break, we'll go to our Atlanta studios for the T-Mobile halftime report. EJ, Kenny, and Charles and the gang all there here in Phoenix. Suns are up by 10 at the end of the first half.